Hello, my lovely sunshiners. I just wanted to come on and talk to you a little bit about a subject that is it it's quite an upsetting subject, really. And you know, people deal with it on a daily basis. Um, some people might not have experienced it yet, but it's inevitable that it will happen. And and how we cope with that and how we navigate it. And it's the subject of dealing with loss. And this is just a small video that I wanted to do about healing and moving forward and understanding what loss is. You know, losing somebody it is an awful, terrible time in your life. I mean, like I said before, you probably heard me talk about this quite a lot, but I lost my dad. My dad was 47 when he died. It was quite sudden. He had a brain hemorrhage while he was at work, which the hospital, they were fantastic. They managed to stop the bleeding. And then he had an operation. And then he had a massive stroke, which ultimately put him in a coma and made him so that he was brain dead. And, it was a decision to be made by the family to turn off his life support machine. Now, during this time, my emotions were all over the place. I was sad. I was angry. I couldn't understand why they would take him so young. Yeah, I was really mad. And my family, my dad's side of the family are all Catholic. And my grandma had spoken to the priest who was at the hospital and asked could he come and do an anointment of the sick. Now, to me, that was, it was more of a sign of giving him some of his last rites, prayers, even though they changed the name of it actually and call it now the anointment of the sick. So this priest came, he was lovely, young, he was a lovely guy. He came and he did this anointment of the sick. And I was fuming. I can't tell you how mad I was. I was mad at my grandma. I was mad at the priest. I was screaming and shouting and I was calling him out names under the sun. I was heartbroken and he guided me off to the chapel in the hospital. And he sat and he was very patient with me and he sat talking and I was like, no, I don't agree with what you've done. No, you've just made it look like we all don't care, that we've given up on him, that we want him to die. I was just mad. I told him how could he believe in a God that just took people who were young, who still had a lot of their life left to live. I was mad. I was really mad. I said, what sort of a God would do that? And I just was angry. And I told him that it should be him in that bed and not my dad and all these kinds of things. Anyway, quite a few years later, I'm talking probably 20 years later, I've always felt guilty about what I said to this young priest. Because at the end of the day, he was doing what he felt was right. He was doing what was asked of him. He was doing his job. And, it can't be easy dealing with people who are constantly in grief all the time. So I wrote to him at the church where I thought he would be. I wasn't expecting any reply. I didn't even know if he'd still be in that parish. I just wasn't sure, but I wrote him a letter and he wrote back to me. I was so surprised. he remembered me. He told me that I had no need to apologize to him. He understood what I was going through, and I just felt so much better after doing that. But the point I'm trying to make is that everybody deals with grief differently. Like my mum went on autopilot and she just was like, boom, 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 everything that would be done. You had to sort this, do that, do. Where I went on a complete, even though I helped organise my dad's funeral, I ordered the flowers, I did all these kinds of things. But I felt like a lot of it was done on a wave of anger. And like I say, everybody deals with it differently. So I thought I would address this problem because it does come up in a lot of conversations that I have with clients, and a lot of the underlying thing is that people have not grieved for their lost loved ones. They've suppressed it and they've not grieved, and then eventually it comes out in other things later on in life. So I just thought I would, talk about it, what it is and how we can deal with it. So as I said before, loss is an inevitable part of life, and at some point we all face the pain of losing something or someone dear to us. While each person's experience with loss is unique, the feeling of grief, sadness and confusion, they're universal. So understanding the nature of loss and the grief process is the first step towards healing. Now, I'm not sure if you know or not, but there is 5 stages to grief, and you don't necessarily, they're not linear, so you don't sort of go, right, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and blah, blah, blah. You can go through different steps at different times, but there is 5 steps, and this stages of grief were developed by a lady called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I think that's how you say her name. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, to be honest. And the 5 stages of grief provide a framework for understanding the emotions associated with loss. So I'll go through these with you. The first thing we go through is denial. And this is the initial stage, and it's characterized by disbelief and numbness. It's a defense mechanism that helps us cope with the immediate shock of the loss. We don't believe that that person's gone. We think it's a dream. We try and shield ourselves from going into a meltdown. Just denying the thing altogether is something that a lot of people can do. And in fact, we all do it, but we experience it at different levels and at different stages. The next thing we go through is anger. This was the first one for me, anger. And, as the reality sets in of this person passing away, it gives way to anger. So, one starts moving out, one starts moving in. And we feel really frustrated and we feel helpless, and we often direct our anger at either other people, which is what I did, or we direct it at ourselves. And as I explained at the very beginning, my anger was so much focused on that poor priest who I gave so much grief to. The next one is bargaining. So in this stage, we try to negotiate with fate or a higher power in hopes of reversing the loss. And this is often a period of what if or if only statements. I did this before I did the anger. So before my dad had his stroke, or I think it was just after he'd had his stroke, and the consultant came in and said to us all, I don't think there's anything else that we can do. He's actually brain dead. I was devastated. Sorry, it's making me emotional. He's been gone such a long time. But I couldn't believe it, because he looked so normal. He just looked like he was sleeping. And I bargained with God to say, take me instead. Don't take him. if you need to take somebody, then take me instead. And I went through this for quite a while and just thinking, you know, well, he doesn't deserve this. This is not right. Yeah, and then like I said, my anger kicked in. And another one is depression. We get a really profound sense of sadness and hopelessness, and you know, when we begin to understand the extent of the loss, we feel quite isolated and quite overwhelmed. And I couldn't believe that people were just getting on with their own lives, and you know, people couldn't feel my pain. So that was a really difficult one as well. And then, you know, the last one is we come to accept it. You know, it doesn't mean that we've got over the loss, but we have to learn to live with it. And the acceptance allows us to move forward with our life while still cherishing memories of what we've lost. You know, it took me a long time to sorry about that, getting emotional. But it took me a long time to like go into my mum's and not see, finding it difficult to not see my dad's work boots in the kitchen, or his work bag hung on the side with his flask that he had his tea in and things like that. So, you know, but then I started to, instead of thinking about him, you know, as a person that is dead, I started to think more about all the things that we did while he was alive and stuff, and holidays and good memories and all that kind of thing. So, and even now, 20 odd years later, well, 28 years later it'll be this time, I talk about him a lot. I have pictures of him in the house. You know, he's never far from my memories. And, you know, the acceptance of it, although it was difficult, it was something that I had to do because it wasn't allowing me to move forward. You know, and as I said to you before, it's important to note that these stages are not linear. We may experience them in different order. We may revisit certain stages. We might skip some stages entirely. Grief is a personal journey. So, you know, don't think that because you've not gone through a stage that there's something wrong, or if you go through a stage, think you've got through that and then go back to that stage. You know, there's nothing wrong with you. That's just the way that we are processing our own grief. So how do we cope with loss? You know, this is quite a difficult thing to answer, really, because it's so unique to each one of us. But dealing with the loss is a process that requires time, a lot of time. You know, don't rush yourself. Don't let people be saying to you, oh, you need to be getting over it now, because that's a load of old twaffle. You don't. You get over it when it's your time to get over it. And you might not necessarily get over it at all. It might always be there inside you, like my dad's death is. And I know my husband's dad's death for him was because he found his dad dead when he was just 18. So that was really difficult for him. But I want you to be patient with yourself, and I want you to have a lot of self-compassion, because you know, it's not a race. You don't have to do it in a certain time limit. You don't have to, just because other people have got over it doesn't mean that you have to, you know. So I just want to go through some of the stages to help you navigate this challenging journey. The first one is allow yourself to grieve. You know, grieving is a natural response to loss, and it is essential to give yourself permission to feel whatever emotions arise for you. So if it's anger, then be angry. If it's sadness, be sad. If it's guilt, then let yourself feel that guilt, but ask yourself why you're feeling that guilt. And sometimes it might be relief. And I know that might sound awful, but if you've had a relative or somebody that's been suffering for a long time and they've been really poorly, you know, you might feel relief that they've now passed away and they're not in pain, and you know, it's better for them. I don't want you to feel guilty about that. You know, just for them feeling just that little bit better because they're not in so much pain. And you know, I want you to acknowledge the feelings, because this is a really crucial part of the healing process, because suppressing these emotions can lead to more significant issues later on, such as depression and anxiety. You know, I've had quite a lot of clients that have come to me and said, I don't know where my anxiety and my depression is coming from. And when we start doing a bit more digging, it turns out that they've not grieved for a mum, a dad, a husband, a wife, a brother, sister, whoever it might be. They've not grieved for that person, and they've not allowed themselves to grieve. So it's really important that you allow yourself to grieve and go through the grieving process. It's also important that you seek support. So, you know, you don't have to face it alone. There is a lot of support groups out there that will help. If you'd prefer a more one-to-one, you can always come to a counsellor or a therapist like myself. You know, you sharing your feelings with other people that have experienced similar losses, it can be really helpful and it can make you feel better. You know, and therapists such as myself that have tools that can help you cope with things better. Another thing that you can do is create a ritual of remembrance. Now, I did this for my dad because I had my dad's ashes on a table with a photograph of him, and every week I would go and buy fresh flowers and I would put them on there, and you know, I was going to talk to him and all that kind of stuff. And then I went to see a medium. Now, some people don't agree with them. Some people think it's a lot of old twaffle. But I just felt that that's what I needed to do at the time. And this medium said to me, you know, your dad said that he doesn't want you having this shrine to him. You need to let it go, because it's not what he wants. He wants you to remember him, but not in that way. You know, you don't have to have this shrine of remembrance for him. So I stopped doing it. And it was weird, really, because I felt like he'd come to me one night time and sat on the end of my bed and was like, you know, everything will be okay. You don't need to be doing this. You know, so I mean, it's entirely up to you. If you want to do that, then that is entirely up to you. You create these rituals. But what I do now is I light candles for him. If I go into a church or whatever, I will light a candle for him in there as well. But I do like candles for him, and I've got pictures of him everywhere, and I talk to him all the time, and I tell him what I'm doing and ask him if he's proud of me and all that kind of stuff. You know, other things that you can do is planting trees. You could keep a journal. You could make an album of photographs that of certain memories, and you can write things down so that you can always got something to look back on. You know, these acts of remembrance can provide solace and a sense of connection to the person that you've lost. So, you know, you do whatever ritual's right for you. You've also got to remember to take care of your physical health, because grief can take a massive toll on your physical health. It can lead to you feeling fatigue, it can lead to insomnia, it can make you change your appetite so you're not eating properly. But it's crucial that you take care of your body during this time by eating well and exercising and getting enough rest. And, you know, engaging in some physical activities such as walking or yoga, this can help you to release emotions that are stuck inside you and, you know, making you feel a bit crappy. So doing these things can make you feel better and also help with your well-being. Another thing you can do is creative outlets. So express your emotions through creative outlets like writing, painting, or music. These can all really help you a lot. The music I listen to a lot when I'm thinking a lot about my dad is Dire Straits. He absolutely loved Dire Straits. So I think about him with that. And colouring. My dad liked colouring. he loved colouring in stuff. So I have a colouring book that I get out, and when I feel like I want to be close to him and I do some colouring, and that helps me to think about him and think about times when we were children and we used to do colouring together. And this is also a non-verbal way of you having a sense of relief and, releasing some of these emotions that are inside you. Another thing you can do is practice some mindfulness and some meditation. Get yourself grounded in this present moment. This can reduce feelings of anxiety. It can reduce the feelings of stress that's associated with the loss. You could do deep breathing exercises. You could do guided meditations. And, you can just spend some time in a bit of peace and quiet amidst the turmoil that's going on with the grief. I have written a meditation actually for grief. So if you would like a copy of that, just let me know and I'll send it to you. The last thing is I want you to be patient with yourself. So as I said before, healing is a journey that you go on, and it's a different journey for every person. So healing from a loss can take a long time. It could take a short time. It doesn't matter how long it takes or how short it takes. There's no right or wrong way to grieve for somebody. But being patient and being compassionate with yourself as you navigate this journey is really, really important. So allow yourself the time to heal and to recognize that it's okay to have good days and bad days, because some days you'll be, you can be talking about the person and it'll be all sunshine and roses. The next day you could talk about them and you can break down into tears, but don't feel guilty about that because it's part of your healing process. And to help you move forward, there's a few things that you can do. So while the pain of the loss may never fully disappear, it is possible to move forward and find meaning in life again. And here are some ways that you can embrace life after loss. So one of them is to redefine your identity, because loss often forces us to reevaluate our identity and place it in this world. So take this opportunity to explore new interests, new hobbies, or a new career path that aligns with your values and passions. Embracing change can lead to personal growth and a renewed sense of purpose. Especially if it's a partner that you've lost, you can feel like you don't know who you are anymore and you lose your identity. So doing this can help you to re-find what your identity is. Number 2 is build new relationships. So opening yourself up to new relationships and new connections. This can be really daunting after a loss, because especially if it's a partner, because you feel guilty that you feel like you want to love somebody else. You feel like you are cheating on that person. You feel like you are disrespecting their memory. And that's not the case at all. That person, I'm sure, would not want you to be on your own for the rest of your life. So, it's really essential that you embracing new relationships and new connections. And it doesn't have to be a love interest. It could just be that you find some new friends, because, a lot of the time, friends that you had together as a couple, you might not have when one of you passes away. So surround yourself with support and understanding people who uplift and inspire you. Number 3 is set goals for the future. So setting small achievable goals can help you regain a sense of control and a direction in your life. Whether it's pursuing a new hobby, doing some traveling, or advancing your career, having something to look forward to can provide motivation and hope for the future. I'm a massive advocate for goal setting, so doing this, can really help. And number 4 is find meaning and purpose. So many people find solace in seeking meaning and purpose after a loss. This might involve volunteering, helping others in similar situations, or dedicating your time to a cause you're passionate about. Finding ways to give back can be incredibly fulfilling and provide a sense of purpose beyond your grief. You have to keep going. You have to carry on living your life, because I'm sure that is what the person who's passed away would want for you. They wouldn't want you moping around. They wouldn't want you being sad all the time. They want you to get on with your life. And then embracing life after loss. So dealing with the loss is an integral part of the human experience. And while it's a challenging and painful journey, it can also be an opportunity for growth, transformation, and renewal appreciation for life. Remember that it's okay to grieve, seek support, and take all the time you need to heal. It's not a race. It's not you need to kick yourself up the ass and get on with it. It's none of that. This is your journey, and you go on it in a way that you see fit. And as you navigate through the loss, remind yourself that it's possible to find joy and find love and find meaning again. The path to healing may be long and winding, but with patience, self-compassion, and support, you can emerge from the darkness of grief into the light of hope and renewal. Remember that seeking help is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. You don't have to face this alone. And there are people out there and resources available to support you on your journey, and to help you heal. Because dealing with the loss is never easy. Whether it is a loved one, it's a child, it's a parent, even a dog. It is just really, really difficult. But with the right tools and the right support, it's possible to navigate through the pain and find a path to heal and renew. Remember, you are not alone, and there is hope for a brighter future for all of us. So I hope some of that helps if you're feeling that you're not navigating your grief really well, and if you do need help at all, then please get in touch. And I'll do my best to help you in any way that I can. So thanks for listening, and I shall see you all again soon. Bye for now.